a retro gamer and hobbyist artist with a lot of nerve. Crolister, the master of ponage. Hi guys, Crolister here with a Nintendo discussion video. As it says in the intro picture and thumbnail, Pokemon up brutally, and people blame Nintendo for it. And I'm here to say that this is bull, and this needs to halt for a moment. As you guys know, one of the biggest controversies and debates about Nintendo's latest hardware is the existence of game key cards. Game key cards are an offering Nintendo had mainly for third-party developers to help get their games on the console, because like a maximum amount of space an ordinary game card can hold is like 50 gigabytes, and a lot of the third-party games exceed that. So they offer them to use game key cards instead, which basically require you to fully download the game while still having the cartridge in order to play them, so that it's easier on the developer's part. And it also costs them less money. So that's why nearly all of the third-party games are key cards as opposed to actual physical editions. And I'm starting to cope with that, as are some other people, while some other people still thoroughly despise and protest them. And I'm still not interested in actually owning any key cards, though, you know. And basically, for a key card, you have to download the game from the internet for a first installment of the game, and then the internet connection is actually not required for subsequent plays. A little misconception that Nintendo cleared up in a recent trailer. And in that trailer, they revealed the shocking and crushing announcement that Pokémon Pokopia, Pokemon's next title, is going to be a game key card. And people were crying, kicking, and ranting all about that, and saying that Nintendo lied and they broke their promise about their own games remaining physical. And I'm here to say, you guys act just like my unruly brother. Until more recently, where we gave him some special treatment. Never mind. Yeah, some people act like babies, essentially. Nintendo did promise in the past that their own games would stay physical. They specifically said they had no plans to make their own games be game key cards. It was just an offer they had to help third-party developers be cautious of their part with cartridge space and for them to save money. And it's valid if the game exceeds 50 gigabytes. And because Pokemon by default is a Nintendo-published franchise, people immediately were like, oh, Nintendo lied and they broke their promises, and we're gonna have game key cards on command now. However, there is a huge misconception that Pokemon is a Nintendo franchise. It's a Nintendo-published franchise, yes. However, it's not actually a Nintendo-made franchise. Pokemon is purely owned by Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, and they're technically a third-party developer. So Game Freak and the Pokemon Company are technically third-party, despite being Nintendo exclusive. And we all know by now that Game Freak are notorious for messing up. We had the whole situation where not all the Pokemon would be usable in Sword and Shield and onward, which alone was a crushing disappointment. You know, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet ran horribly on the original Switch, to the point where I couldn't care if they run better on the new console, which reportedly they do. And I just didn't really like my experiences with the more recent games. And now Pokemon and Game Freak are jumping onto the game key cards bandwagon. And you know how much space Pokopia apparently takes up, according to the game's box? 10 gigabytes. A fifth of what a cartridge can normally hold. That's just Game Freak and Pokemon being the tight-fisted egomaniacs that have no care for the fans that they've always been. I have reason to believe that Nintendo care for the fans, and the reason why they disqualify people from tournaments for using offensive slurs, and the reason why they brick people for piracy and unauthorized modding, is because they care, both about themselves and for the welfare of their fans and their consumers. You know, they care so much that they get strict about their policies, and to the point where some people think they're an evil company, while it's not exactly the case. Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, however, are lazy you-know-whats. They really are, and I can't stand Game Freak as a company. I hate the decisions they made, and I would even go as far as to say that I am an ex-Pokemon fan, as opposed to an actual Pokemon fan. Anymore. Because, Game Freak are just ruining the Pokemon franchise. I've been wanting to be a YouTuber for so long, though couldn't start until just a few years ago, where I uploaded my Pac-Man gameplay vid as my first ever video. And I thought originally about being a PokeTuber, except to be a PokeTuber nowadays, I have to play the currently existing games, which I'm not even that interested in anymore, because of Game Freak's decisions. And deciding to make a simple Pokemon Minecraft-ish game be a key card instead of physical was the final straw for me. And the reason they did it was inexcusable. So, yeah. That's why I think I'm better off to be a Namco-tuber, because my Namco arcade vids, some of them are my most viewed videos, and I'm glad that some people appreciate my fan art and how to draws as well. So I'll just keep doing them. And just remember that actual Nintendo games that are not Pokemon should still all be physical moving forward. We got Kirby Air Riders and Metroid Prime 4 coming out imminently. And then we got Mario Tennis Fever, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Those should all be physical. And any later Nintendo exclusive game like Super Smash Bros. And stuff should be physical as well, as long as they're below 50 gigabytes. However, it is possible that Generation 10 of Pokemon could be game key cards. And I wouldn't be surprised because Game Freak have no sympathy for the fans at all. They're just lazy and, it sucks to be a fan that likes Pokemon only for the characters now, and not the games anymore. And as a matter of fact, I hate 4 out of the 8 characters from Pokemon in Super Smash Bros. Jigglypuff, Incineroar, the Pokemon Trainer, and Pichu specifically as a Smash fighter. So that doesn't really do it justice either. And I can't see us getting a good Pokemon rep in the next Smash game, just out of my own pessimism. Ranting about game key cards and why it's Pokemon and Game Freak's fault and not Nintendo's, and it should be noted they said Nintendo made games, not Nintendo published games. I should probably mention that as well. Would all be physical. So, let's talk about some other details, shall we? Fairly recently, we got our first official trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie by Nintendo and Illumination. During the Direct, Rosalina and Bowser Jr., along with their respective voice actors, have been confirmed for the movie. And the way they showcased it in the trailer with the intro with Bowser in the little castle with Mario and Luigi looking in on him and his paintings, that was a good way to open the trailer, in my opinion. And a lot of people really like the voice actor choice for Rosalina as well. Though I have no knowledge of these characters, because I haven't really watched a lot of different movies myself. Still, it looks like it's going to be a great movie that I'm sure a lot of Mario fans will love, despite the elephant in the room, Yoshi, not being revealed from the movie after it seemed like he'd be a sure win. I just think Nintendo secretly hate Yoshi. And you can kind of tell because of how he's always revealed the last of the main Smash fighters in the Smash games. how he was the only character from the original starting 8 to not be revealed on the official announcement, of Smash for 3DS and Wii U, and all that stuff. Or it could be because the reveal of Yoshi and the role he's in is a little bit more special to be saved for later, or that his role is not quite as important as those of Rosalina and Bowser Jr., and that's why he wasn't revealed. It has to be one of those reasons. Maybe in the next trailer we'll see Yoshi, though I wouldn't swear that he'll be in this movie either in a lead role. Emphasis on in a lead role. Just because Pillsbury apparently leaked him doesn't mean he'll be a significant character. There is another update among my franchises I want to talk about in the video as well. If you've seen my Spyro DeviantArt highlights video, at the end of it was a picture that I made out of a rumor I heard that Spyro 4 was still in development and that we'd be seeing it shortly. Well, fast forward to a few days ago, and there was a teaser of some kind showing Crash from Crash Team Racing morphing into his Crash Bandicoot 4 depiction, hinting that the next Crash or Spyro entry in the series was going to be a sequel to Crash Team Racing instead. And I was immediately like, what? Because, they kind of foreshadowed that it would surely be Spyro. And I'm sure a lot of you are dying of thirst for a new Spyro game as well. And, he needs a new game imminently. And yet, they decide to go for a Crash Team Racing sequel after the abysmal garbage of a game that Crash Team Rumble was. And the studio going on a hiatus for over a year after that game came out, and Microsoft fired close to half of Toys for Bob's employees. The Game Awards is coming up pretty soon, and it seems likely maybe that some Crash or Spyro game will be announced there. And if it is in fact Crash Team Racing sequel, Spyro fans are gonna riot. And rightfully so, in my opinion. The later Crash Bandicoot game, I love Crash Bandicoot and Insane Trilogy, and Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Those were fantastic remakes in spite of some glitches. It's just Crash Team Racing Nitro Field had an online server that causes the game to crash easily. And I wasn't a fan, really, of Crash Bandicoot 4. And I couldn't play Crash Team Rumble because I only had the Switches, obviously. And that game was only on PlayStation and Xbox. And, the game died a very short death. Nobody cared for it. So... And I get that Crash is more popular than Spyro, it's just, It's just popularity does not equal fairness. And it's very unfair for Spyro fans that Crash is getting literally all the love, even recently. So that's just my take on that controversy. Regardless, the franchises are coming back one way or another. There's evidence about it. And I'll be interested to see what's next, either way around. Still, Crash Before Spyro and Pokémon favoring game key cards are very disappointing announcements. And I guess Yoshi not being revealed in the Mario Galaxy movie was as well at a lesser degree. For those of you that are not familiar with my DeviantArt, Damon is my Charizard character. He finds enjoyment in hating Spyro for no reason. So, yeah. So, while we had a lot of exciting news going up and about as of late, we've had a lot of shocking and disappointing news as well. And I like to cover both sides of the controversy, because there are some people that are really loving Nintendo's new hardware, and some people that are just hating it for what they're doing with it. Some of it is valid. I understand people are not happy about the pricing. Nobody likes paying for stuff. Definitely nobody. And, some other details like virtual game cards and not having physical games because everybody prefers key cards except Nintendo themselves. And Pokemon are just not Nintendo themselves. They're a different company. So, Actual Nintendo games besides Pokemon, again, should still be physical moving forward. Even Super Smash Bros., as long as it's below 50 gigabytes. And the trailer for the Mario movie was good, and announcing Crash before Spyro was a massive shock nobody was expecting at all. And I just wanted to talk about those in a video. Anyway, consider subscribing or at least checking out my channel if you like any of the franchises I have listed here, even Pokemon, because I still love Pokemon's characters, and I do make some fan art and OC art of a lot of them, and maybe I'll showcase some of them in YouTube Shorts one day up ahead. And I like Mega Man, I like Namco Arcade especially, I like Crash and Spyro. I do how to draw videos of characters, and will occasionally do Let's Plays of mostly retro games I have that I feel are worth playing for sport on my channel. To be honest, I have quite a lot, so consider checking me out. I am Crolister, Master of Ponage. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you on my next upload, whatever it might be. Bye.